In this lecture, we'll talk about the where clause and how you can use it to apply conditions on a table in a database. Let's say you have a table and you have to extract out columns from that table. So let's say you want to extract out author name and author email. But in addition to that, you want to extract these columns out based on certain criteria. You want the criteria to be price greater than 10. So your condition is based on this column, price. So when you do that, the where clause is what you're going to use for this. And then when you do that, these two columns are printed out based on the condition that you have chosen. Here is how the syntax of the where clause works. So the where clause is optional and is part of the select statement. So if you want to add the select statement, where clause to the select statement, it typically goes after the from clause. So you type in select the column or the columns you want to select, and then the table name, and then the where clause. And this is where the condition would come in, like price, condition on price, or any other column. And then this is order by, which we have looked at before. So this is also optional if you whether you want to order your column a certain way or not. So when you work with the where clause, you're applying conditions on columns, right? And so there are always these comparisons that you have to make, whether let's say price is greater than 10 or price is less than 5 or age is greater than 10. So these when you're making these comparisons, you always need these operators, right? And so these operators are present in every programming language. This is the greater than sign. So if you want to check whether something is greater than equal to, you add the equal to it. And then this is less than equal, this is equal. So in some languages like Python, the equal is like 2 equal signs, so they can vary. But in SQL, it's just 1 equal sign. And then you can also check if a particular column or value falls in between a range, so you use between for that. We'll see how that works. And if you want to check if something is not equal, you add this exclamation with the equal sign. And you can also, so these two are the same, but I'll be mostly using this exclamation with the equal sign for the not equal to condition. So let's continue using that database that we created in the previous lectures. So packed online shop, we're going to use that database. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the select statement to select the product name column, right? So this is the product name column. We're using the alias high value products, right? And so the reason for that is that we're going to choose products that are a bit more expensive, and then we're going to choose the column net retail price. So for this we're not using any alias, but for the product name we're using an alias, high value products. And so the table is products, and this is the where condition. So now you're applying a condition on the net retail price. You're printing out that column also, and then you're applying a condition on that column also, and you want to print out all the products with the price greater than $14.99. And so you can see that this is the product name column with its alias, and this is the net retail price column with all the products greater than $14.99. Here is how the between operator would work. So let's say that you want to apply a condition using the where clause, and you want the net retail price column to be between $14.99 and $50. So in that case, you're gonna use between $14.99 and $50, and then you can see that we only have those products printed out where the price is within this range, and we have also included the order by clause to which by default uses ascending order to print the column and the net retail price column in ascending order. We can also use the like operator with the where clause. So that is when we are looking for a particular pattern. So again, the syntax goes the same way. We use the select statement from table, and then where the column name, and then we can include a pattern using the like operator in the where clause. The like operator uses these wildcards, right, to find patterns in the columns. So the percent sign is used to represent 0 or multiple characters, and then the underscore sign is used to represent a single character. And so let's see how we can use this to find different patterns in a column. So let's see how do the wildcard patterns work with the like operator. So let's say that you're looking for a string in a column. You're going to apply a condition with the where clause, and you're looking for a string which can start with anything. So percent sign, remember, means that can be 0 characters or multiple characters. So it can be anything before x. So anything before x, right? So so any number of characters or no characters before x, like the word like fax, right? It ends with x. So let's say that so x is just for illustration, can be anything over here. So so if you, let's say you're looking for a string that starts with x but ends with anything, right? It can be any number of characters, 0 characters, or any number of characters after x, right? So like the word xylophone, right? And so if you're, let's say, looking for a word that starts with anything, ends with anything, but has x somewhere in between. So that's what you're going to do, 2% signed with x in between under quotes. And so let's say you're looking for a word or a string that starts with x and ends with a letter z, but can have anything or nothing in between. So so this is when you want the string to start with something. There has to be something over here, a single character over here, and the x should be at the second position, and after that there can be any number of characters or no characters at all. So the last thing is, so this one is when you're looking for at least 3 characters, and one of them should be x, right, followed by any other value. Then there can be something in between or nothing in between, and then another character, and then there can be something after that, or it can follow without anything. So so let's say that you have, let's say, x, y, z, right? So that's a possibility for this operation, where you have at least 3 characters, but there's nothing in between. So you can have x, maybe something in between over here. So x, y, and then 1, 2. So this is going to 1, 2 is going to represent that, and then you want another value over here. So let's say z, and then nothing follows after that. So these two are possibilities of what this wildcard pattern represents. Here is an example of how we would use the wildcard patterns in the example that we are working with, the packed online shop database. So let's say we select the first name column, the last name, and the font column from the table customers, where the first name is like this. Right? So what does this mean? This means that it can start with any character, but the second character has to be O, and then after that there can be anything. So as you can see that this is it starts these two names, right? They start with J, so they can start with any other letter also. The second letter is O, and then after that there can be anything. Here's another example for the wildcard pattern. So again, we're going to select the same columns, first name, last name, and font from the table customers, but now we have 3 underscores over here. So that means that there has to be 3 characters in the name. So those 3 characters can be anything. So you can see that we get names that have 3 letters. So Joe and Ada, right? So this is how you can use the underscore to limit the number of characters in a name. Now, in the previous examples, we have seen that we in certain columns we have missing data, right? So there, which is referred to as nulls, right? How do we check? Let's see, how do we check for nulls in a table using SQL? In SQL, we can use these 2 special keywords, is null and is not null. to check for null values in a table. So the fields, so notice that fields with a value of 0, right, and invisible characters like spaces, right, those fields are not considered null in SQL. Null fields are values that are records that are left blank. Now let's see how we can find null values or apply this condition of null values on a particular column. So now what we're going to do is we're going to again work with the same database that we've been working with, the packed online shop. We're going to select the middle name column, the last name, the font. So now in a real life scenario, for example, you're going through your database and you want to check who's missing the first name. Which customer is missing their first name, and so you can take their phone numbers and then contact them and ask them and fill up the database. So how can we extract that out? So we again select these 3 columns from the table customers, and then we're gonna apply this condition on the first name. So wherever the first name is null, these columns are going to be printed out. So notice that the first name column is not printed out in this case. So all of these names, these 2 customers, you can see, have their middle name missing also, so they're null values. But all of these customers have their first name missing, so you can therefore contact them and ask them for their first name if this was a real life scenario. Now let's see how we can apply the AND, OR, and the NOT operators along with the where clause to further extract out columns where we have to make a comparison between different columns and check whether one condition is true and the other is false, and how do we combine the 2 together using these 3 operators. Just a quick review of the AND, OR, and NOT operators. So this is a slide from my discrete math class. So this is the AND operator, this is the OR operator, and this is the NOT operator. So in general, how these works. So think of these, you can think of the true as 1 and the false as 0. So this is Boolean logic. So true and true, right, is going to be true and false. So think of this as multiplication. That's a simple analogy that you can think of. So think of the true as 1 and then false as 0. So the AND is more like multiplication. So true and false is false, false and true is false, and false is obviously false. The OR operator is more like a sum, but in the Boolean logic, 1 plus 1 is 1. So true plus true is true. So true and true or true is true. True or false is true. False or true is true, and then false or false is false. So this one is simple. You just take the opposite. If it's true, NOT operator flips true to false and false to true. So here is an example from the database we're working with, and these 3 operators. So we're going to select all the columns from the table customers, and then we're going to use the where clause. So now we're going to say that, okay, print out all the columns from the customers table where the first name is equal to Joe and the font is like 310 with a % sign. So in other words, this means that the font number should start with 310, so area code from a particular city or state, let's say, and then it can follow any number you want. So you're basically looking for people with the name Joe that are from a particular area. So you can see that it's just 1 customer, right? And then this is the phone number, and this is the following the condition that we've applied. Now on the previous slide we had the AND operator. Now we're going to use the OR operator. So it's the same. So we're gonna use only 3 columns, right? Select these 3 columns from the table customers, and then where first name is Joe again, but OR, right? Or the font is like starts with 310. So now it's gonna print out all the columns where any one of these condition applies. Remember, this is how the OR operator works. So if either this is true or this is true, you're gonna get the column or the record printed out. So you can see that over here, name starts with Joe, so it prints it out. And then over here, name does not start with Joe. The first name is not Joe, but the area code is 310. So it prints out these three records because this condition, the second condition, is satisfied. Here's another example where you can use these three operators in combination. So this is going to be a longer, so these are a longer set of conditions that we're going to apply now. So now you can see, we're again going to print out the first name, last names, and font and notes column also from customers. But now we're going to apply these following conditions. We want the first name to be like J-O, should start from J and O, and after that can be anything. So Joe, John, and so on. And so now we're gonna use this operator and. So we want this and everything in this parenthesis. So this is, you can see this parenthesis starts here and this parenthesis ends here. So anything in this parenthesis, right? These conditions are going to be evaluated, so they can end up to be true or false. Whatever it ends up to be, that's going to be that's going to combine with an and, right? So let's say that this is section 1, and then this is section 2, and then this is section 3, right? So now within this section 2, we have font. The font number should be like 310. It should start with 310, or the font is like 210. So the font number can start with the 310, or the font number can start with 210. So in this parentheses, we're applying a condition on the font number. And not and not means that it's the name should not start with the last name should not be Carter, right? So we're excluding the records with this last name. Now if all of these three conditions are true, right? So from section 1, if this is true, and then it is an and this is true, and then this is an and, right? This not condition, you can see that, you can say that when this is so when the name is not Carter, right, then this would give you true. So then when these combine to give you true, then the column, then the record will be printed out. And you can see all of these three conditions are satisfied. The name starts with J-O, so it's Joe, and then these two conditions are evaluated. The number starts with 310, and then the last name is not Carter. Okay, in this slide, I just wanted to summarize a few things, just to give like a bird's eye view of different types of objects in SQL. So when you write a query, right, you can you'll see that there are different ways that different objects are referred to, right? So literals, and you'll see this term, right? Literals are basically objects like it can be like a string, a numeric value, or a binary value, right? So like a string can be single quotes, can also be double quotes, and numeric value can be like an integer or a real number or a float. And binary values are typically represented with like an X and then a value under quotes. So zero. So this zero, right, can be any hex value. But we're not gonna work with binary values. So the keywords. So when you see this word keywords, right, that refers to like the built-in words that have a certain meaning in SQL. So select, and then from, where, order by, and so on. So I mean, identifiers are like objects from like a database, like tables or columns, like city name, and the ones we saw, for example, first name, last name, phone numbers. And then in a SQL program, or you'll also see these comments, right? So comments in MySQL start with 2 dashes, right? So you can write a comment by starting with it with 2 dashes, or with a / and a star. So this is when you have like if you have a really long comment that continues over multiple lines.